Smooth Breakfast presents the headlines, the stories, in-depth analysis of national current affairs. Freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1.
This is Smooth 98.1. We love music and we definitely love life. It's a Thursday morning and it's time to get into the world of the papers. Take a look at the headlines making the rounds on in the dailies in Nigeria because this is freshly pressed. You can be always a part of the conversation by sending your thoughts into us on WhatsApp or joining us on YouTube. First of all, the WhatsApp number you can send your thoughts into 0809 440 YouTube, you can check us out at Smooth 981 FM Lagos, where we're streaming live. You can catch us right there on the live stream. And yes, my analysts for the morning are in to take a look at all the stories. Very interesting stories are making the rounds. Mr. C and Gbubemi, very good morning to you, gentlemen. Great to have you on the show this morning.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Mr. C. Good morning, Lagos.
Good morning, Aya. Good morning, Gbubemi. Good morning, Lagos. Let's get ready for the weekend.
Let's get ready for the weekend. But before that, you know that we have a lot to chew on this morning, and of course, bite on and make some sense of a lot of great stories to take a look at. And we'll begin our journey this morning in the Punch. Yes, the Punch, where the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin, has withdrawn the counter subversion bill and other related draft legislations following widespread public concern. Now, this was making the rounds all over the place yesterday. A lot of people had a lot of things to say. Now, the bill had a number of provisions, but one of the provisions that people actually were holding on to, amongst every other one, was the penalty for the national anthem violations. That's a failure to recite the national anthem or pledge could result in a fine of up to 5 million naira or a prison sentence of 5 to 10 years or both. And there are a lot of other provisions. But Mr. C, just walk us through this one.
See, Aya, there's no story here. And that's a sad, really, that's a sad truth, right? This is a classic case of what we will call a red herring. There was never any intention to pass any law like this because it wouldn't pass muster. Forget all the talk about it passed first reading, it was heading to second reading. This was never going to fly. Now, recall the last protest that held. One of the grouses of the organizers and even the people at large was we had a government at executive and at legislative level that simply wasn't listening to the people. So how do you solve this from a legislative perspective? Float a kite that you know you have no intention of flying. People will react, jump up in arms, then you withdraw it and you say that you are bowing to the wishes of the people. Now, the statement by the some assistant or aide to the speaker says that this decision came after extensive consultations, I'm quoting verbatim,
Okay.
with various stakeholders and a careful assessment of the nation's current circumstances. So, to the aide plus his orga, did you not carry out any extensive consultation before presenting that bill, before putting it together? Why are the extensive consultations coming after the fact? You don't put the cart in front of the horse, you put the horse in front of the cart. Now, they've also, I'm quoting another section. His decision to withdraw the bill reflects his commitment to ensuring that the House of Representatives remains a true representation of people's will, which aligns with what I said earlier, and that it underscores his pledge never to support any legislation that could potentially disrupt the peace and unity of the nation. How did you expect that a proposed bill would suggest that a failure and inability to recite a new national anthem that isn't popular would result in the imposition of a fine, a jail term, or both? How did you think that was going to fly in the face of the constitutional provision which expressly guarantees your right to freedom of opinion? If I have a right to freedom of opinion within certain guidelines, I also have the right not to say anything. Now we see our football team, the Super Eagles, when they're standing on the pitch, the national anthem is being played. How many of them are actually singing? Then let me bring it home to just show how ridiculous everything is. How many of the legislators can properly recite the old national anthem, forget the new one. It's not happening. They can't do it. So, in the face of all the challenges we're facing here, is this a classic example of the interests of the people being properly served, being properly represented? Is this what we actually need at a time like this? I haven't heard any brilliant solutions from the House of Representatives on ways to get us out of this current economic situation the country finds itself in. If they have, I missed it, and it's unlikely that I missed it. So you are not providing solutions. Rather, you are floating kites, pretending you're going to pass bills that will never pass muster. Continue.
All right, Mr. Steve, just before we let go of this one now, you said this is just a case of flying a kite. Now, let us assume here that the public backlash against this wasn't as loud as it was. Would that kite probably still have flown all the way?
So, yeah, I'll give you what my take is, right? Like I said earlier, there was no plan to pass this, but in also not planning to pass this, they're testing the waters. There's something they're trying to do, right? Now, they're looking for they want to pass certain pieces of legislation, but want to hide it under seemingly innocuous broader legislation. And this is a clarion call to civil society organizations and people who watch out for these sorts of things to continue the work they do. It's brilliant work, it's excellent work. Because really and truly, these guys do not represent us. They represent their interests. And you'll find that both at the House of Representatives and at the Senate, irrespective of party affiliation, they're one. They consider themselves one. They're not even divided on the basis of religion or geographical location, nothing. It's one unified class. And the moment the Nigerian people begin to accept this, begin to understand it, the better we will be. Because really and truly, governance at all levels requires that the people holding office represent us. Can we truly say, as the Nigerian people, that has been our collective experience since the Fourth Republic, which started in 1999? Yes, I get the feedback. People say that, look, we need to market the country positively. I get it. Foreigners listen to this show. Security agencies listen to this show. Senior government officials listen to the show. How do I know? Whatever we say here, a few days later, they start to execute. But we cannot continue to close our eyes to ineptitude, to shenanigans, to all sorts of schemes and intrigues.
And
because
kites.
we're family. Let's say the Nigerian nation is a family. We need to be able to tell ourselves the truth.
Very important. Very, very important. All right, let's get over into the Daily Post. Maybe I'm coming to you with this one. The Minister of Power, that's Chief Bayo Adelabu, has revealed that the federal government is targeting to generate at least 6,000 megawatts of power before the end of the year. Now, this seems like a very lofty aspiration. I mean, bearing in mind how the power sector has been this year, the grid collapsing multiple times and so on and so forth, you would think that, man, what he's saying is it seems like a Vision 2000 sort of plan, not before the end of the year.
Yeah, so like you rightly said, 6,000 does seem a lot, considering that he says that when this administration got in last year, he said that they met less than 3,000 or just about 3,000 megawatts, which is quite a bit funny because as of last year or so, was it last year or upper year, we had as much as as of about 2022, we had as much as about 4,000 plus megawatts of power, which shows that there's been a dip. Power is something that, I personally believe that if the government decides to tackle head on, it can liberate this country. However, we see what's happening, and when we look at 6,000 and you think, oh, it's a bit ambitious, we also need to remember that there are other countries across the African continent that generate significantly more. So South Africa, Egypt, for example, Algeria, generates more than 50,000 megawatts of power. So 6,000 Nigeria, 50,000 these countries. So, we haven't even started. The minister was light on how this power will be generated. So typically in Nigeria, power is generated from hydro and thermal sources. One thing that we don't seem to have tapped into as well is also solar power. Maybe that's part of their plans. I don't know, but like I said, the minister is a bit light on his plans for power. For how the power will be generated. It would be nice to know exactly what it is that they intend to do to
Exactly,
achieve that.
exactly.
But like I said, so whilst I think 6,000 sounds a bit ambitious, it's really, really not, considering what many other countries with less people, are generating across Africa.
I hear you on that one, but looking at where we've been and where we are now, I mean, that is for us, that would be a jump. It would be a jump
Yeah.
in a short piece of time.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I've been trying to keep quiet. I'm sorry. No, so first of all, it is not true. It is incorrect. It is false to suggest that the minister suggested they made less than 3,000 megawatts of generated power when he took office. That is not true. We've done over 5,000 megawatts during the Buhari administration. I don't know why there is a compulsive desire or intention on the part of functionaries of this administration to always fudge numbers, fudge details. It's truly shocking, it's truly disgraceful. I'm sorry. The other day we had the Commission for the Diaspora claiming the UK High Commission had issued over 400,000 UK visas this year alone, only for the British High Commission to say, no, that's not correct. We've only issued 225,000. What was the need to fudge the numbers for? Do they think people don't actually check what they say? Now, even this 6,000, I'm pretty sure that I just didn't have time this morning. If we go back, we can find where we've actually hit this figure before. The truth of the matter is he's in the wrong ministry. He was a deputy governor of the CBN. So financial, monetary matters, yes, that's his field. Power, I'm sorry, he's not going to cut it. And why are we aiming for 6,000? What is 6,000 supposed to do? Has he listened to the experts in his ministry to give him the figures that alternative sources of energy are generating? And I'm talking about petrol power generators, I'm talking about diesel power generators. We're hitting over 20,000 megawatts minimum from those sources. I haven't even brought in solar energy, which has started to make some inroad. So what is he on about?
These are the questions. Let me just get some messages in before we go on to the next story, before they pile up like traffic on Third Mainland Bridge. AB says, I understand there was a provision in that fatuous proposed legislation on national anthem, etc., against, quote, insults to public officials. Malaki. That's according to AB. AB, I see you on that one. Thank you for that. Let me see. Orov says, all these anthem nonsense just shows cluelessness. No consultations were held anywhere. They should deal with the real issues. And I think for a long time, we've concentrated on the presidency for too long. If we drill down to getting very interested at the House of Reps and local government levels, how will clowns like this get into office to represent us? Questions. All right, let's get back into the stories. And we're going to the Daily Trust here, Mr. C. Now, this is like a part two of a discussion that we started right here on Freshly Pressed just yesterday. And a lawmaker representing Kano South, Senator Sumaila Kawu, has revealed that he earns over 21 million naira as a total take-home package. Now, this was in an interview with BBC Hausa Service. Now, he said the official pay of 1 million naira fixed by RMAFC, that's Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission, drops to around 600,000 after deductions. But there are other allowances that take their total pay to 21 million naira per month. We've heard, Mr. C, like you said, different figures just flying all around. What is happening here?
Okay, let's start. Senator Sumaila Kawu, God bless you immensely. Bless you down to your 7th generation for this thing you have done. No, it's serious. God bless him. Now, yesterday, the RMAFC had said that allowances and salaries together, each senator takes home about 1,006,000 naira, which we all knew could not be correct. It was never correct in the past 10 years, could not be correct now. Because one thing that is clear in Nigeria is even if things are reducing in Nigeria, the salaries of political appointees, legislators, and at the executive level never drop. Now, Senator Sumaila Kawu comes out and says, look, every month he gets 21 million. Now he says he gets official pay of 1 million, their deductions. He didn't tell us what these deductions are. Presumably tax and maybe, I don't know if the House of Reps has a pension plan. I have no idea. And there's been no mention ever. He then says, but there are other allowances which together add up to 21 million. So let's say the other 20 million, roughly, give or take, is operating costs. And he gets that every month. Now, multiply this sum by 109 senators. Each month, Nigeria, the 109 senators receive 2,289,000,000 naira each month.
Each month, so times 12.
Times 12, 27,468,000,000 naira for operating costs.
Can my calculator handle that? I just wonder.
Now, what are operating costs? Because we've all worked in offices. Okay, you've got stationery, you've got
Travel.
yeah, you got no travel. They find a way to send it back to the National Assembly, especially if it's a committee arrangement, because the committee will get funding. We're talking about maybe disinfectants, coffee, tea, supplies. Excuse me, how big is a senator's office? How many people stay there? He has a secretary, probably has a receptionist, has one or two legislative aides. The point I'd make is, I'll be truly shocked if any senator has 20 people working in his office in the National Assembly. Because one, how big is the office? We start from there. How many people are there? Even if he's paying salaries from there, 20 million as operating costs each month. That is truly wonderful. Because it then begs the question, what are they replacing every month? How much is milk? How much milk is he consuming? How much coffee is he consuming? How much, okay, he doesn't take milk. He's lactose intolerant. How much honey does he take?
Maybe almond milk or oat milk.
Almond, yes.
It's expensive. It's expensive, you know?
Yeah, okay. Fair point. Then there's bread or pancakes or waffles.
English breakfast, perhaps? There's that.
So this is the sort of thing that goes on at the National Assembly. You can only wonder what goes on at the state houses of assembly levels. You can only wonder what goes on at the executive level, federal and state. You can only wonder what happens at the level of the ministries, departments, and agencies. And yet we're told repeatedly, consistently, without any failing, we need to continue to adjust our belts, that we're in for a ride, that there will soon be light at the end of the tunnel. No timelines, nothing. Now, of course, the Senate has not responded to this, and I'll be truly shocked if they attempt to respond to this, because he has no inclination to lie. Now, he's an ordinary senator. What are the principal officers collecting?
These are the questions.
So, questions. And then they get this much money, and then you can't relate what they receive with the output they dish out. So you're thinking, okay, if you're getting this much, we should be getting quality legislation, quality oversight, quality checks and balances on the executive. But has that been our experience?
All right, thank you for that, Mr. C. Let's head into the Guardian, and Gbubemi, I'm coming to you with this one, and I'm you know what? Let me just take the opening line here now. The criminal case documents filed against the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, the APC, Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, former governor of Kano State as well, have been declared missing after the hashtag End Bad Governance protest in Kano. Now, what began as a peaceful demonstration against hunger and poverty in the country subsequently turned violent after suspected hoodlums hijacked the possession and destroyed public and private properties, including the state high court, where sensitive materials were carted away. Now, this sounds very. I mean, this can't be a coincidence, can it?
Definitely not.
Okay.
So, I hope I don't get crucified when I say this, but I applaud the mind that takes advantage of situations like this to, quote unquote, clear up their mess, because that's clearly what has happened. when people go on rampage and things like this, usually one of the first, yeah, they're destroying public property or whatever, but they're most likely looting, and looking for something to eat or whatever. Paper isn't one of the first things that they're rushing to cut away. Okay, maybe they take away laptops and computers and things like that, probably, but then again, they're thinking of survival. So if documents have been taken away, clearly, those documents were targeted and removed by whoever, I can't say, they know themselves. However, so for me, this calls to question the reason why there isn't even a digital registry. Because if there was a digital registry, then we wouldn't be having these issues. Those documents would be online and would be accessible on the cloud server somewhere.
I'm sorry, I can't hold it any longer.
No, but let's be serious. Let's be serious. So we begin to wonder. This is 2024. People are talking about AI and all sorts of sophisticated things. Scanning documents, saving them on the cloud, is something a discussion for like the mid 2000s. So clearly, I wonder whether things like this happen to support things like this. If you understand what I mean. Anyway, the long and short of it is, they're going to come out and say there are no other copies or whatever anywhere else. Does that mean that they're going to start the trial afresh? Does that mean that they're going to suspend the trial or whatever? I don't understand. I don't know what the legal implications are. But it would be interesting to know what the High Court does. Maybe Mr. C can.
I'm sorry.
educate
Again. Oh my days. Okay, so according to the newspaper report, it was physical copies of physical documents that were parted away, right? So meaning those documents were printed from an electronic source or sources. Were the electronic sources destroyed too? I mean, what sort of nonsense is going on in this country? We're treated to, and this is a problem I have with certain elements in this country who can't think with their heads on, right? A protest happens, you claim, oh, it will be violent, and truly there will be incidents of violence. But you then find that the government in power has no desire or intention to go after the people who perpetrated the violence. We've seen this numerous times. Occupy Nigeria, NSAS, even the protests that held this year. There's been no desire to go after the people. Now, the people who looted, they're not spirits. They're flesh and blood, humans like you and I.
Right.
If you go into the various communities, you can fish out the people who did this. Now, how does this stop a trial? These documents were prepared by people who are not at the High Court. They were prepared by some kind of state anti-corruption agency. Where are the hard drives? Where are the computers? Can you not regenerate fresh paper copies? And then more importantly, why have you not moved to electronic filing for your court system in Kano? In Lagos, we have that. There's electronic filing now. So if you like, you want to physically uproot the court structure from the ground, that's your business. They're e-files. So why are we not discussing all of this? And how is this a conversation in the 21st century in Nigeria? How?
Good questions there, Mr. C. Let's take some messages that have come in here before we get on to another story. Cruz says, really, documents missing. This has to be the script for a spy movie. A high-end asset was sent in to retrieve XYZ while there appeared to be a riot in town. I mean, we've seen this in movies. It's nothing new. Orof says, Ganduji's documents missing. Bravo! With a lot of dancing emojis there. Inka Bolu says, for all we know, both Senator Sumaila and RMAFAC could be misleading us. The solution is transparency. Let everything be made public. If the senator isn't being disingenuous, he should release his payslip. These figures being tossed around could very well be fabrications meant to stir up public sentiment.
Pause. Yinka, why didn't you ask the Senate president to show us his payslip? Why must Senator Kawu show you his? Let's be fair. Call a spade a spade. Let the presiding officers of the House of Reps and the Senate tell us what the official position is.
Deji says, if 21 million naira is the total turnaround and maintenance of every senator monthly, how much will it be then for the whole members of the Senate and House of Representatives? Wow, I think the next protest should be tagged occupy the Senate because large percentage of the nation's wealth is used to feed these people without tangible results or development. It's a shame. All right, Mr. C, let's really quickly get into the story from the Punch, where the Port Harcourt Refining Company, a refinery under the management of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited in Rivers State, has again, unsurprisingly, failed to commence operations after about 6 postponements. I mean, if NNPC were Amaka, you know how it goes.
So yes, I agree. So not like you said, no surprises here. Again, it's been postponed. Right now they will stop giving dates because there's no point. We were told this will be done last year, and they've continued shifting the goalpost. At some point, we were told, oh, the refinery is technically complete, whatever that nonsense means. Okay, if it's technically complete, start operations. Of course, it cannot start operations. And it will be a real miracle if that refinery starts this year. And I'm being very kind with my assessment. It will be a true miracle. Now, Mr. Kerry tells us that it's not going to happen. No. Mr. Kerry said it would come into operation in early August. We've passed the middle of August. It hasn't happened. There's no timeline as to when it will happen. There's no explanation, no matter how incredulous, as to why it hasn't started operations yet. So it's been missed. Now, the bigger question beyond all of this is, how does a country with the sort of crude oil deposits Nigeria possesses, how is it even possible that we do not have a proper functioning refinery? We have a couple of modular refineries, but those are very small. When you take their combined output, I'm not sure you're hitting 250. How is it that the 4 state-owned refineries, none of them is working? And then the new private refinery in Ibejuleki, we're having all sorts of issues with it. How is it that the NNPC cannot provide crude oil to the refineries on ground to refine? And the answer is simple. We've continued to mortgage future crude oil extraction for monetary loans whose value, whose use we cannot readily ascertain. The bigger question is this: where are we headed as a nation? The other day we were told, the president told us we had done 1.6 million. We're doing 1.6 million barrels. Then the very next day, Chief of Defense Staff comes out, I don't know why or how, tells us we're in fact doing 1.7, contradicting his boss, only for OPEC to release its figures. And OPEC says, look, for the month of July, you did 1.3 million barrels. And it aligns perfectly with the data from the National Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission. So the bigger question is, what exactly is going on? The president is the Minister for Petroleum Affairs. The Minister of State is just there. So really and truly, where are we going? Is there the other refineries? What are we saying about them? What's the news?
Questions. Not enough answers. Let's run up with some messages. Joseph Menye says, "What a bill to be patriotic when they earn over 21 million each per member monthly. How much is a police officer, doctor, lecturer earning? The true patriots are those who speak the truth and fight for real change. Citizens everywhere doing remarkable things, portraying the country in a positive light, not our leaders who are always about themselves." Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Jane says, "I think the government should look at waste as another means of power generation. We generate enough waste in Nigeria. Are we ready to do that? I wonder." Bryson Dan Okuda says, "The set of National Assembly members are a bunch of jesters trying to make a law that runs contrary to the fundamental provisions of the Constitution. I dare ask, what is the justification for the billions of naira they spent on their legal consultants?" Kelvin says, "I've always said that NLC fights the wrong fight. On minimum wage, what they should fight for is for politicians' salaries and allowances to be brought down to minimum wage level. Then you'll see that it's the legislatures that will push for an increase in the minimum wage." Digi says, "I do not think industrial courts in Lagos have electronic filing. I've been there and files have been missing or misplaced." I don't think Mr. C said the industrial courts, as far as I know.
I said the Lagos State High Court.
All right. Let me squeeze in Let me see if I can squeeze in one or two. AB says the Nigerian National Assembly is the smallest collection of people doing the least for the largest population, undergoing the most deprivation on the African continent, thus representing an utter and absolute waste of public resources and an unacceptable subsidy of the lifestyles of the rich and famous. What a tragic comedy. Thank you for that, AB. And finally, Chibuza says senators and reps are expected to have constituency offices. Have you tried visiting one? I have. There was an old book on the receptionist desk without the receptionist and boys smoking around. Things are actually happening. Thank you all for your messages. I can't take any more at this time. Thank you, Mr. C and Gbubemi, for joining me on Freshly Pressed this morning. Always a pleasure getting your thoughts on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Lagos, thank you so much for sending your messages. Smooth breakfast will continue at 8:15. We're going to get into the grapevine.
Oh, I didn't know we were live.